Hi friends, how you doing? This is Melanie again on another video here today, astrological video around the weather that's coming up. And this one is about Mars going into Gemini tomorrow, March 3rd, 2021. So, since the issue here with Mars in Gemini, and especially going from Taurus into Gemini, is, as I see it, find your voice and speak up. That's why I thought you might also want to see something and hear something from me vocally and visually rather than just reading it. And of course, also good practice to get back into the video groove, which I had abandoned a bit, but picked up under the Aquarius new moon last month. So I hope there's more to come, and that's definitely my intention because when I do it, it's really fun. Anyway, this is Mars going into Gemini. Why am I saying find your voice? Because I consider this cusp from Taurus to Gemini the voice point. I give names to the cusps and the energy. These are, of course, just working titles, so to say. Not definitely the ultimate, but I like the theme of voice because Taurus rules the throat, the sounds, of course, also the neck, and it's more about the sound itself. So even if you do oming or any sound therapy that doesn't have words to it, music itself, that would be Taurus. But when we add the dimension of speech and of words, of communication, we come into the Gemini perspective. And that's why the interface is voice. So this Mars going into Gemini is definitely activating our voice and our expression, whatever we're passionate about, whatever we really feel needs to be said. Of course, what goes with that is fierce discussions, debates, and information coming out that can stir things up and make people either activated or also angry, and can cause more confrontation because we're dealing with Mars, the warrior. But on the other hand, Gemini is the alchemist of dualities. We've had so much duality and polarity energy in 2020 and into 2021, with the North Node now in Gemini saying we need to alchemize these dualities, we need to listen to one another, learn from one another, be interested in information rather than just going with a shadow of Sagittarius, Sagittarius South Node. In other words, just going with a certain agenda, a certain truth, a certain, maybe the whole wrong direction actually, if we don't consider other voices, other information, what the other person is trying to convey, and really listen to one another. So Mars, of course, activates that even more. How long will Mars be in Gemini? Until the 23rd of April. So you bet this will be a very animated, very active, very vocal early spring. Highlight times will be around March 28th, which is also the full moon, the first full moon in spring, and the full moon in Libra, moon in Libra, and sun in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. And why is this a highlight time? Because on that day, Mars will also meet the North Node in Gemini. So it's very strongly, especially also activated with the full moon, an energy of people stand up, show up for what they feel needs to be said, and strong drives and desires to go into discussion, conversation, debate, and another highlight time will be on and around April 17th. That will be a day with lots of transits, lots of aspects of planetary connections with each other, including the moon will be in Gemini, meeting Mars and meeting the North Node, and Mars will also go into what will Mars go? Okay, there's tons of stuff going on in April. I have to look it up. April 17th. Mars in Gemini will also go into quincunx with Pluto in Capricorn. Quincunx is 5 signs apart, and Pluto is the higher octave, considered higher octave or transpersonal dimension of Mars. In other words, it's not so much about personal assertion, warrior energy, power, solar plexus, which is ruled by Mars, but it's about higher power. So we have to, and it's also about shadow. It's all about transformation, rather than just fighting on the surface level. Really going to the deeper level where the core of the matter really sits with Pluto now in Capricorn. So we have to talk about those things, and that's sort of a culmination day, but it's of course also already building up. And so it's all about leaders, especially the shadow in leadership, governance, laws, rules, and regulations. That's Capricorn. Structures, hierarchies, and which core elements need to be transformed, and the place from which power comes back, true power and natural law. And so, with Mars in Gemini, as I said, it's an alchemist, alchemist of polarities, alchemist of dualities. The point would be not to just come at people with your agenda, but ask questions and be truly, genuinely passionate and curious, which is Gemini, and curious to learn, of course. If there's something you are excited to learn or to write about, this will be a wonderful time because Mars in Gemini gives you such a boost for it. Mars hasn't been in Gemini since spring 2019, comes around every 2 years. So maybe what happened since the last 2 years, there's lots of information, lots of what we learned in those 2 years, also maybe to journal about or to discuss. And then the United States, they have Mars in Gemini. In the chart of the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776 at 5 p.m., Mars is in Gemini on that day anyway, but in the 7th house, so it's around 22 degrees of Gemini. I wrote about that in the blog, and I will also link to the blog here below this video. So more about that in detail in the blog. And so with US, their Mars is a 21-22 Gemini, and Mars will be around that point, around that position in the zodiac on April 9th, 10th. So that's just before the super Aries new moon on April 11th, a new moon with lots of energy in Aries, ruled by Mars. So that will be a very fiery time, actually. So now we can't even perceive it yet because there's lots of energy presently still in air from the Aquarius side. That continues, especially from Jupiter and Saturn, continues throughout the year pretty much, and also in water, in Pisces mostly. No planets in Scorpio or in Cancer. The moon is in Scorpio today. but water is only represented by Pisces presently. So it's a much more mellow energy than what we'll get when the Aries season starts with the spring equinox on March 20th. So, by the way, March is, of course, also the month of Mars. The Romans named the months according to their gods and goddesses. And so a very Martian time, pretty much kicking in a very active energy, energized, and good starter energy, but also can be a very aggressive, violent, and confrontational time. And of course, also for the US, especially here early to mid-April with their Mars return. Keep an eye on that one. And what else? So also additionally, Mars rules Aries and Mercury rules Gemini. Mars is in Gemini until April 23rd, while Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, will be in Aries, the sign of Mars. So they will be in each other's signs. It's called a mutual reception, or colloquially speaking, a double whammy. And that's going to happen from April 3rd on, when Mercury enters Aries, the sign of Mars, and until April 19th. So in that 16-day window, we have a strong Mercury, Mars, Aries, Gemini energy. And that makes, basically, it's the energy of the messenger and the energy of the warrior linking up. And that can be, again, battles of words, and ideally just channeled into the pen, the keyboard, or the speech rather than the sword, right? But it can be a very, very it's lots of debates and confrontations, basically, hopefully to stir things up and to shift things that have gone sort of from the Pisces perspective, sort of almost into a trance, into a passivity from the Aries perspective, how Aries sees Pisces, right? Just like Aries says, hey, come on, wake up here and get going, rather than just being asleep and sleepwalking. And so when Mars and Mercury, these buddies in spring, link up and hook up, things can happen also pretty fast, because both Mercury and Mars are quite speedy energies. Additionally, there is already, since Mercury came out of retrograde on the 20th of February, and he came out of the turnaround storm on the 27th, the day of the last full moon, we have no planet retrograde presently. And that happens these years, typically early in the year, typically for about a month. This time pretty long, actually 2 months. So end of February, early March, just now, until April 27th. It's also shortly after Mercury goes out of Gemini on the 23rd of April. So April 27th is when the next planet goes retro, which will be Pluto. But until then, we have a window of no retro. So lots of things can get going now. And if you have a project to start that you'd like to start, especially relating to communication, information, getting the word out, that would be awesome in this phase. And for starters, typically a very good time is with a new moon, either already, depending on the theme and where that new moon will be in your chart. So either with a Pisces new moon, that's the next one, on the 13th of March, or with the Aries new moon on the 11th of April. So this Mars in Gemini will activate whatever is in Gemini in your chart, and also so whether you have a Sun, Moon, Mercury, ascendant, anything in Gemini gets a lot of boost of energy. And the Gemini house in your chart, wherever that is, depending on your birth chart, also is getting quite a boost of energy. And of course, if you have already your chart set up by me or somebody else, or you did it yourself, actually that would be also a great time to go and learn something new, and maybe just experiment with can I find my own chart, what can I find out about it, and just go for tidbits of information. But if you want to learn more, of course you can always turn to me or other sources. And I have also a spring planetary archetypes series, this time online, coming up, that starts on March the 15th, right after the March 13th new moon. So if you're interested in learning about the archetypes, including Mercury, including Mars, what are they in your life? What are they in your chart specifically? It's very customized. Come and join us. So we have a small circle. I keep it small and intimate so that we really have a discussion, and everybody's being heard, just like with Mars in Gemini, and the learning is really customized. And we use your chart. We really work with your individual birth chart. So what I wanted to say here, yeah, the houses, right? So the houses are these segments in your chart that you see when you have a little sense of astrology already. And the house where Gemini is in, that that definitely gets energized and activated, whatever that relates to. Like if it's the 11th house, for example, just comes to mind, that has to do with society, that has to do with groups, that has to be with friends. So either you say, hey, I really want to see these people again, and get in touch, have discussions, all of that. And specific also with Mars, get going, do something physical, get out into nature, go for walks, go for bike rides and stuff like that, explore the environment, maybe specifically with those people, or depending where the house is. So you can always check that out in your chart or ask me. That's about it. So I already been talking quite a bit, and wish you well, and good new Gemini activation and alchemy in your life. Take care. Bye bye.